Starting lineup, uniforms, and apparel present the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. This is episode number 27. Yes, 27. I want to thank Mitch Scott of Starting Lineup, Uniform, and Apparel for being our presented sponsor. We have a great list of guests coming up on the podcast. We're into the month of July now. Full speed ahead. And I just want to give you guys kind of an idea of who's going to be coming on the podcast. Coming up today, it's actually a really interesting change of events. Originally, we only had Brendan MERRITT coming in from Seaforth, but now it'll be Brendan MERRITT and Mark Van Doren coming in from Seaforth. On Wednesday, we have Mark Rosick and Chris Dobinson coming in from the Elora Rocks, and on Friday, it's Jordan Turcotte and Gal Lambert of the Ripley Wolves. The following week, starting on the 13th, we have Reed Simmons coming in from Shallow Lake. Curtis Ron joins us on from the Milverton Four-Wheel Drives on the 15th. And then GM Bill Ryan of the Tillsonburg Thunder on the 17th of July. The following week on the 20th, Andrew Boyle and Justin Graham, number 8, come in from the Durham Thundercats. Wednesday, July the 22nd, is Gord Lamont, the president of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. And then on the 24th of July, Brock Hare and Colton McGuire of the Shelburne Muskies come in onto the podcast. The following week is already booked up as well, the end of the month. Brady Anderson of the Minto 81s comes in on the 27th. First-year head coach of the Elora Rocks, Ben Pelek, on the 29th. And then brothers Kyler and Cole Keating from the Petrolia Squires on the 31st of July. Like I said, it's a great episode today, folks. We had a minor adjustment, but a good one. Brendan MERRITT of the Seaforth Centenaires comes in. He is joined by Mark Van Doren, and we're going to introduce them now. They are our guests on today's episode of the podcast, number 27, WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. I want to welcome in my guests at this time. They are from the Seaforth Centenaires, number 7, Brendan MERRITT, and number 14, Mark Van Doren. Guys, thank you, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us, man.
First question I'd like to ask everybody off the hop, with COVID hitting everybody a little bit differently, it's always nice just to get an idea of how you guys are doing, how it's affected you guys in your day-to-day, and just want to make sure to get an update on how things are with you guys. So whoever wants to start it off, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, life hasn't really changed for me. I work in the correctional center in London at South End. So it's been business as usual for us, with the exception of some restrictions in place in the workplace. But beyond that, yeah, we've been lucky. We've been lucky to avoid it in the workplace so far. So
good, man. Good. I'm glad to hear that. And home life is good, Mark?
Everything is good. Yeah, the honey-do list is getting taken care of every day. So.
No doubt. Brendan, how's things with you, man?
Yeah. Other than the COVID 15 pounds I've thrown on here, I didn't need before.
Sure.
Everything's good. Like, I work for Pepsi. I'm a sales rep for Pepsi, so pop don't stop.
Yeah.
It's been crazy busy. It's actually been like record months for sales. I don't understand how, but it's been good. I'm working. My wife's working from home.
Good.
So everything's good.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'd imagine that the sales aren't going to slow down anytime soon over the next 2 weeks, considering the heat, eh?
Yeah, no, Gatorade's insane right now.
Oh, buddy, I know. I'm drinking Gatorade.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. What is that? Shameless plug? No, I'm just joking. Anyways, got to stay hydrated, man. My room's like 50 degrees, so no AC. But anyways, I'm not complaining. That's not what this is about, man. So anyways, yeah. So guys, like, obviously, it sucks right now without sports, no question about it. You guys had an unbelievable year in Seaforth. Just if you could, can you give you guys personal takes on how great the season was for you guys last year?
Well, for me, since it started, this year was unbelievable. That team has come so far in 7 years. The staff behind everything, the guys all coming together and recruiting players, and just the camaraderie in the room. Like, it's just been, I've watched it all come together, and it's just been, it was amazing to see this year. It really was.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah, it was obviously a special year for me. Not many people in this lifetime get an opportunity to play that level of hockey with their sons. So
yeah,
a lot of things had to fall into place for this all to take place, and it did. And you know, I know this will be a year that is it will stay with me for forever, and it will probably rank as one of, if not the most special year of my hockey career.
Well, and like when did you kind of first get an idea, Mark, that this was a legitimate possibility that this could happen?
Well, truth be told, I never really thought that Holden was going to be sticking around after his junior career. I kind of thought that he would maybe toil over in Europe or maybe try something south of the border, but he had a great career opportunity, and him and his fiance, Ashley, they saved up a pile of money and they built themselves a lovely home in Listowel, and that's home now, and they've just got themselves a great little life going. And so it was really at that point when he said he was going to be sticking around locally that, you know, I decided that I would get myself into shape and get ready for the season. I didn't want to ride his coattails. I wanted to earn my own spot on the team, and so I did. I went to work for 3-4 months going into the season, and I got in the best shape I'd probably been in since I was a teenager. So yeah, it was a process, but I don't have the stride I had when I was 21 years old, but I can still keep up with the lads. I just can't take away from them anymore. So.
Well, and like obviously, yeah, like you're one of these wily vets that are playing in this league, because you played 4 years with the Clinton Radars, you played a season with Moncton Wildcats, and then you kind of took some time away. You played a season in Seaforth there, and then took some more time away. You've always just been able to stick around though. Like, can you speak to what makes this league so great that's kept you wanting to come back? Like, if not just for Holden's sake, but for your own.
Well, just to correct you, Andrew, I played 12 years with the Clinton Radars.
Sorry. So Elite Prospects, this is the website that I go off of.
Yeah.
They really only kind of like started counting WOAA as a stat sheet on here.
That speaks to my age.
As of 08-09. So yeah, that's fine if you played that long there. I appreciate you correcting me on that. But
yeah, 15 years total in the league, including this one pass. So
that's crazy. But like obviously, for you to be around this long, something's got to keep driving you to keep coming back.
Oh, it's the love of the game. Like it's. I'll always play regardless of the level. Obviously I was away from the competitive end of it because I owed it to my wife to step away, because she's been nothing but accommodating, let's call it, in terms of my coaching and my playing endeavors during the course of the last 8 years. So, it's always that opportunity to play at a competitive level. I love going out with the boys here on Wednesday night in Lucan, but it's a little different playing in front of nobody versus playing in front of a packed house with 1,000 people in the Clinton Radar playoff series on a Friday night. I don't care how old you are. If you don't get up for that, if the hair's not standing up in the back of your neck when you're going out, you're not alive. So, I relished that opportunity. I never thought I'd be able to do that again. And so that was just another special moment.
Well, and like, let's talk about that, because it's interesting you bring that series up. I did want to talk to you guys about that for sure, no question, because it was one of the most highly anticipated series I think anybody's ever seen in a really long time. You had, the top two teams in terms of goals for throughout the season. You had a couple powerhouses, you guys and Clinton coming in where they won 4 straight championships, and you guys looking like the team that could finally knock them off that podium. But take me through that series, because it really was unbelievable from start to finish.
Yeah, it was wild. We were ready for the challenge, obviously, with the team that we had put together. It was a lot of fun, a lot of animosity. Some guys just don't get along. Some guys don't like each other, and we knew it was going to be heated from right when the first puck dropped. And it was. We wanted it. Unfortunately, we got into some penalty trouble in a couple games, and they ate us alive on that. But you live and learn. We'll see them again.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? I mean, it's just if you take it as a learning experience, there's no question that there's still a lot of possibilities for the future whenever you guys do hook up again, that you could take them. Like, was it just a case of a couple bad bounces here and there, and that turns the whole series into Clinton's favor? What would you say was the deciding factor?
Well, I think it always comes down to that big ice in Clinton, and
Right.
you know, home ice was critical in that series, and unfortunately, you can't. Hindsight's always 2020, but there were a couple of nights where we were ill prepared for games during the regular season, and we let points get away from us, and ultimately that ended up costing us home ice in that first round.
Right.
That's always such a challenging barn to play in, and their power play deserves a shout out because they moved that puck around like nobody I've seen before in that league, and they did. They made us pay when we sat in that box. So
Right. Now, so do you, Mark, let's ask you about playing with Holden, because that was obviously a huge part of it. You touched on it a bit. Like, you guys had the opportunity, like, I know there was something special. Like, I talked to Holden about this. Like, they had you guys line up, like, side by side at one point. What was it? First game of the season? Did they have you guys do that?
the game in Ripley and again for the home opener.
Yeah. So how cool is that? Take me through that moment.
Obviously, it was something that I really wanted to have happen, and we went up to Ripley that first night with a really short bench. There weren't many options for starters. Let's just put it that way. So
Fair enough.
Coach Reeves pulled me aside beforehand and said that he wanted me to have the start with Holden, and I was just so happy that he had made that decision. I let him know on the spot that just meant the world to me that he was giving us that opportunity and that memory to have forever. So, and then of course we came home, and our home opener was against Clinton after we had a pretty good showing in our first month on the road.
Right.
And then come home to a pretty packed house. I don't think Seaforth really knew what they had in terms of a product just at that point yet. And there was still, I would say, probably about 500 strong in the barn that night. And again, very special moment. I remember thinking on that one, just don't make a mistake. Let's get through 30 seconds and get off here.
No doubt. Brendan, talk about how impressed you were with Holden's play from this past season, because, anytime someone comes in fresh-faced, first year in the league with a lot of pressure, because I think it's fair to say he had quite a bit of hype come in with such a strong junior career showing, 4 solid years in Listowel. How impressed were you with his play from last season?
Well, he's a phenomenal hockey player. He's smooth with the puck. He's heads up. He knows where everybody's going to be before you even know you're going to be there. Like he knows the game so well. On top of the fact that he just fit like a glove in with our team. Like he couldn't have fit in any better. His attitude, he takes the game seriously, and even for his rookie year, like keeping the room under control, he knew what he was doing. He fit in, and it was awesome to watch.
Right on. And who did you typically play alongside this year, Brendan?
For the most part, it was kind of all over the place, but I saw a few games with Calpen and Whiffen here and there until they got their line figured out.
Fair enough.
And then, I don't know, I played a lot with Chad Brulot. Loved playing with Brew.
Yeah.
I was kind of bounced all over. I'm kind of the role guy. I've been there for 8 years, going on 8 years now. So I just do what I'm told. And
fair enough.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about Ruben Smith?
He's a weapon. Ruben, phenomenal defenseman, great skater, great guy in the room, great person. He's really helped this team come a long way. Also, he's put a lot of time and effort into making sure that management is doing their job and recruiting, and on top of him doing that as well. We wouldn't want it any other way. Like he needs to be there. So
I'd like to give a shout out to Ruben too. I just saw a lot of personal growth out of him this past season.
Definitely.
He accepted his role because we did bring in Craig Dalrymple and
man, he's unbelievable, that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a game changer for us when he came back. We knew we were good, but that just put us over the top. And boy, you watch it in practice and you think, I'm so thankful I don't have to play against him.
Yeah. You line up with a one-on-one with him for a drill, and it's just like, well, I might as well not even go.
But back to Ruben, you know, Ruben's been the guy back there for so many years on this team.
Right.
I think sometimes he just kind of took too much upon himself to go that extra time with the puck. And this year he was so disciplined within his role, and he was more mature from 3 years ago when I played with him. His temperament was under control. He was an outstanding leader, and he deserves that shout out. He was a big part of that team this year.
Right on. I love it. That's what I love about this podcast, is hearing guys talk about other guys on the team. That's just awesome. And I got to tell you guys too, like I was kind of disappointed in a sense that we didn't get to see more from the 81 side of it. You know, we came down to Seaforth pretty early on in the season, and he really gave it to us good. Whiff and had a hat trick. It was like, you guys were just unbelievable that night. And you know, like I say, I wish I would have been able to see more of you. Can you guys speak a little bit about, you know, because you guys have been in this league for a while, Brendan and Mark, you know, lengths of time respectively. What is the biggest difference that you've noticed about how this league has changed?
Well, when I came into the league in 2000, 2001, Senior A still had a reputation of a goon league.
Right.
It was starting to evolve into some real good talent sticking around at that point, or coming back. There was still a 2-fight rule at that point. No visors required. So there was actually a lot more respect in those days. You had to answer the bell twice if you were careless with your stick, or so you knew, you know, if you did something vicious, you better get ready, because they're going to come for you. But obviously, society and the game has changed over the years, and it's become a more skilled and developed league. And if I could also touch back, there was also a red line back in 2000. So you know, I've seen the
really aging yourself,
evolution from the game with the red lines to the red line being taken out. But there was no structure at that point. It was new to everybody, right? So we were just kind of trying to mimic what we saw on television and trying to apply it to our game. And now to come back now with these kids that have played at high levels, pro levels, NCAA levels, OHL levels, coming back and bringing drills and understanding systems. Like, not only did I learn and grow as a player this year, I'll be able to take all that stuff forward in my coaching career endeavors going forward. So, yeah.
Right on.
Definitely on top of everything else. Just from what I've seen over the 8 years I've been in the league, is the league has come a long way in terms of how, like, what players are allowed on your team, and the game, like the north-south split. Like, now we actually get to see each other and play each other, and it's come so far, and it's like the most competitive I've definitely ever seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brendan and I we would carpool to practice and games together during the season. When we get back to town, we'd sometimes sit in the garage and have a couple of beers, and he'd ask stories from back in the day. And we've gone through, because there's been a lot of different playoff structures over the years. Right. I believe the most amount of teams ever in the loop was 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And top 16 made the playoffs. And there was, for a lot of years, there was an additional round to actually win the championship. It was 4 rounds. So
crazy.
Yeah, a lot has changed, and a lot has they've toiled with a lot of different systems and formats. But you know, I like the way they have it now. I'd like to see it. I'd love to see a home and home with every team in the league.
Yeah, and there should, like, if you guys keep playing 22 games a season, there's no reason why that shouldn't happen.
No,
it's the travel, I think, for the teams.
That is the big thing. Yes,
that are situated so far away. I get it. If you don't have a strong financial back, that's challenging for a small organization to make a go of it. Right? That's a lot of travel. So.
Well, then it's a tough ask to get, like, a team like Shallow Lake to go into Petrolia on a Friday night.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. I agree with that, but I just don't understand how some teams see everybody, and then some teams don't see 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, yeah, there's no question that schedule demographics do play a favor in how a team's going to be successful that year or not. Look at Shelburne. I think a lot of people thought their schedule was a bit tilted because of where they were and who they played, because they played Shallow Lake 3 times. They played Lucknow 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, that might have, put a couple more wins in the column, but it's not to say that they weren't deserving, but at the same time, I agree with you. Each team should be a little bit more evened out in terms of the schedule.
Yeah.
What now? Can you take me back to the season and pick out a high point that you could pick out, or maybe a funny story that you want to share with us?
Go ahead.
There's got to be something.
Oh,
Well, the classic trip is always the shallow lake bussy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one was a good one because Holden touched on that because he was right at the forefront, right?
I'm gonna put my head down for that one. My wife did not allow me on that trip.
Oh man. But yeah, that one was pretty good though.
He came up on the bus, but Stacy took him home promptly thereafter. There was a stop at an establishment in Hanover that will remain nameless.
I know it.
I kind of felt like a Mario Lemieux at the back of the bar, just sipping casually, but just keeping an eye on the boys, making sure nobody crossed the line. Because we've got the boys that can pull that off in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I hear that was quite the trip. Let's actually let's take that question and let's move it to more of like a generic type of question here. Brendan, can you pick out a moment in your childhood hockey career that you remember fondly?
Yeah. Like, do you want like funny or like a serious moment?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Something that sticks out.
I guess my biggest moment would be I had a coach in Brantford Minor, AAA, and we always had the Wayne Gretzky tournament every year. It was like the big Brantford tournament. We had European teams and everyone come to it. And this coach was an asshole, and he ended up leaving Brantford.
Okay.
And he ended up coaching the Mississauga Rebels.
Okay.
So he entered the Mississauga Rebels because they were actually a very good team, and our Brantford team wasn't very good. And we had an unreal coach who he's kind of like Mark. He was just always uplifting. Like you guys can do whatever if you put your minds to it. Like
right.
Very like he was just a good coach. And we ended up facing off against Mississauga in the finals, and it ended up coming down to 2-on-2 overtime.
2-on-2.
Yeah, that's how they played it. And I still remember the pass I made. I was falling, and I threw it over to my buddy Josh Yem with a wide open cage, and he fired it top corner. And there must have been 700, 800 people watching this minor Bantam game,
wow.
AAA, and the crowd just going, because everyone knew the animosity that was in the rink, and it was quite wild to win that Brantford tournament in front of everyone.
That sounds really cool. Man.
Yeah, that was probably one of my highlights of minor hockey and life, definitely.
That's a pretty good one. Mark, do you have one that you could share with us, like prior to this season? Because I know it was a huge one for you, but I'm wondering if there was one maybe prior to this season.
Yeah, I've had a couple of good revenge playoff stories in my time.
Yeah?
But
Those are good.
yeah, I had a stint with the Stratford Culletons as a 16-year-old until the deadline, and then the following year. And there was a coaching change, and we parted ways, and it wasn't amicable, so to speak. So after toiling in between Seaforth and Kincardine for the next couple of years, I ended up going and being called up to the Owen Sound Greys, who were then coached by Bill Brown.
Okay.
Who was the first to recruit Holden to junior hockey.
Oh, no way.
Through the Wingham Ironmen. So long hockey history between Bill Brown and I. But he brought me up for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, and we ended up playing Stratford in the second round. And we not only swept them, but I had 11 points in those 4 games.
Attaboy.
That was my former team. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
That was a great team up in Owen Sound. And unfortunately, they had 3 of us from Kincardine.
Okay.
We were still going in the Schmaltz Cup quarters at that point.
Right.
So Doug Kennedy yanked all of us back to just play exclusive junior C. I was playing 5, 6 junior B or junior C playoff games a night for about 4 weeks. It was awesome. Yeah. It's unfortunate that we got yanked back because I think Cambridge went on to win it that year. And I think if we were up with the Grays, we would have given them a go in the finals. So
gotcha. I want to talk just a bit about maybe if you guys could pay homage to maybe some people that heavily influenced your guys' hockey careers. it just like if you could pick somebody that you could say they attributed to your hockey success, like who would you shout out?
Well, for me, it has to be Boyd Devereaux.
Boy, Devereaux, wow,
Yeah, Boyd and I grew up together. He's a year older than me.
that's crazy.
But he, he was always having success before me, and I just was always pushing in his shadow just to try and do what he was doing.
Right.
He had such great success with the Seaforth minor hockey system. I believe 5 All-Ontario championships.
Cool.
And then, first round draft of the Kitchener Rangers and first round draft of the Oilers. And, I got as far as the OHL draft behind him, and then our careers took different paths, let's just say.
It happens.
Yeah.
Brendan, what about you, man? Who would you owe your hockey success to?
If I really had to go back, I played a couple years when I was in Bantam. I played for a coach. His name was Ron Hamilton. He actually was I played in Hamilton. He was just a very inspirational. He would push you to the point of like there was just no limit, but it definitely helped me get drafted to the OHL and make my way through my junior career. I always thought of him when I needed that extra push. So yeah, he was my guy.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, you guys are. It's funny about that. You guys are both drafted by the Guelph Storm.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy. Brendan, you've had a lot of success in terms of from an offensive perspective. At least according to these stats, you 178 points in 137 games. It's impressive. I got to give you that. I got to give props for that. Yeah. What would you say is something that allows you to be so successful in this league?
First of all, it's definitely the team that I play with. The first few years that I was in Seaforth, Mark can probably attest to this. We didn't have much. I got a lot of ice time.
Fair enough.
Because there was games for the first couple of years where we were showing up with 10 skaters. So definitely the ice time helped in the beginning because someone needed to score some points. But but now it's definitely just moving the last couple of years. It's who I've been playing with. It's the guy. The team's just getting so good that you get to know everybody so well where they're going to be. I'm more of an assist guy. I don't score a lot of goals, but
that's okay.
Once I figure out where they're going to be, I make sure they get the puck on their stick and they bury it. I guess I did play quite a bit with Robbie Van Weinsberg this year. So
yeah, man,
that guy knows how to put the puck in the net.
Like, how impressive is he? I mean, he was one of those guys that really stood out the time we were down there in Seaforth early on in the season. I don't know how many points he had that night, but he really stood out there, and how well he played. He's just so impressive.
Yeah, I know he's a phenomenal hockey player. Sometimes he loses it on the bench a little bit, but who doesn't?
Passion.
He is good. He's fast. Sometimes he's faster than his hands.
That's okay.
No, he's a phenomenal hockey player. He's good to have on the team.
Right on.
When Robbie is there,
Robbie's
fully mentally and ready to play,
it's scary.
There's very few in that league that can rival what he can do.
Fair enough.
That's exactly. You couldn't have worded it any better.
So how are you guys feeling in terms of what's going to come next season, if and when that does happen? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I want to play hockey.
Sure.
Who doesn't want to play? But it's, I don't know, the pushbacks and seeing minor hockey starting to get canceled, and it's just, I don't know, it's starting to look like more of a dream than a reality, unfortunately. I really hope it's not, but with a 20-game season, how do you start in January? Like, usually we're starting playoffs, right? It's tough. I find it, I don't know if Mark's got a different opinion, but
I don't think it's much of a reality to have an upcoming season, but it's that being said, you never know what could happen in terms of these restrictions across our province. And
that's just it. I think that's the biggest concern that people have is this unknown, because they don't have any clue as to what's going to happen. Whether it's going to be a full season with no fans, whether it's going to be a half season with maybe some, depending on when the restrictions ease. Who knows?
and
But
see exactly what you said there with the no fans. Like, how do some
how do you
teams
do that?
they rely on that. They need those fans, even if it's 50. Like, they need that money, and if they're not getting it, it just makes it that much harder.
Well, and the big thing is for a lot of teams too is they rely heavily on sponsors. Sponsors, local businesses, people that have been able to give graciously over the years. They don't have that money, that disposable income anymore to just say, yeah, we're going to sponsor a local hockey team. Sure, they just don't have it.
No, it's going to be tough.
If you guys were to because you're veterans of this league, some more than others, Mark. When it comes to like the sales pitch of this league and why people should want to come and play, maybe even more specifically why they'd want to play in Seaforth, what would you say to them?
Well, bar none, Seaforth has the single best owner in senior A hockey in Bill Tremere. And Billy has kind of adopted the culture which used to exist in Clinton when I first went there. And that was, it's all about everything on the front of that jersey and, fair and equitable treatment of every player. And you get treated so well in there. You're respected. You feel wanted. I was taken care of more than I could have ever anticipated or dreamed of this year. I'm a 41-year-old, coming out of retirement for the second time, just to get a couple of sticks and, some money for some gas. It was just, it was nice. And it was nice to, have them recognize, that we put some butts in the seats this year, and they know that that's not possible with the players. And it was a very good relationship between players and management there.
Good. Yeah, Brendan, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, he's nailing things right on the head. Like, it's our organization it's phenomenal. I wouldn't go anywhere else. You couldn't pay me to go anywhere else. I love it there.
And the boys are a blast. The room is as tight of a room.
There's no one that doesn't fit in.
No.
Like, it's insane.
Do you now, one thing that I've actually seen as a common thread throughout everybody that I've had on here, a lot of people, they talk about the numbers and talk about, the commitment that it takes to be successful in this league. Some teams, they struggle with that, and obviously the record shows. Other teams, they get guys out to practices and games, and the record shows that they've been successful. What would you say that, how does that apply to how Seaforth was this past season? Was numbers ever an issue?
Up until this year, numbers was a problem. Like, the past 4 years, it got to the point where Billy would just cancel all practices for the year.
Oh, wow.
Because we tried doing the every other week. We tried the once a month. And even then, at that point, it was 4 or 5 skaters and maybe a goalie showing up. Now, this year, I don't know. We had a meeting. Actually, it was at my house at the start of the year. And Billy was here, and he laid it out that if he's going to spend the money, he wants the players at practice. And we got almost damn near full rosters for every practice.
Perfect.
We had one point in the season where we started to fall off a little bit, and our record was showing that too. And we had a group discussion at the onset of a practice, and just saying, if we want to end up in the standings where we aspire to be or where we know we can be, we need to commit to this.
Yeah.
It's once a week for an hour and a half, right? Let's make a collective effort. And from that point forward, it was full on, 20 guys at practice every week, weekend.
And we got to the point too where Billy was willing to accommodate. Like, we practiced in Lucan to accommodate the London boys. We practiced in Hensel to be a little closer, St. Mary's to accommodate Whiffen and the Cal Pens, and
the boys coming.
And the boys coming. It was like we made it work.
That's awesome. And you know what? That goes a long way in terms of being able to bring a team together and for them to be successful. By the way, friend of the show, Matt Crane, wanted me to say hello to you guys.
Crainer.
He's awesome, man. Awesome. I had him on onto the podcast there, and he was just fantastic. He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
But he just wanted to make sure I gave you guys a shout. So, do you guys have any last words that you'd like to say here before we sign off? I'll give you guys the floor.
Yeah, just really thanks for having us. We appreciate you taking the time. Everything you've done as well. Thank you for, you've really helped get this league's name out there. You have done a lot of work. Thank you very much for that. And we appreciate everything you've done. Just thanks for having us. Thanks for listening. And,
I'll just echo Brendan's sentiments there, that you've been a great promoter of this league, Andrew. And I'm not a social media guy, but
you're not on Facebook.
Send me some links, and I'll figure out how to click them open and watch them. But,
I know somebody will send it to you. Don't worry.
Exactly. No, thank you for having us on. Really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you, and cross again one day online.
Well, like I say, guys, I mean, I just want to thank you first for saying that. That's all. Like, I don't put it to that so that you guys have the opportunity to plug me or, like, basically say nice things. It's not like it's like a tee up setup type deal. But no, I really do appreciate what you said. And you know what? It's guys like you and it's guys like the other people that I've had on this podcast prior to you that make this podcast so great. And it doesn't happen without players and people like you guys. And that's why I'm doing this, is to get that recognition that you guys so highly deserve. The talent in Seaforth, that's why I do what I do. It needs to be recognized. It needs to have that exposure, and that's just what I'm trying to do and make sure it happens. So thank you guys, honestly. We thank Brendan Merritt and Mark Van Doren for coming on to the podcast from the Seaforth Centenaires. Guys, thanks a lot for joining us today, and we'll have you back on. You're welcome back anytime.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
Have a good one, Andrew.
Once again, I want to thank Brendan Merritt and Mark Van Doren for coming in and joining us on the podcast today. Episode number 27 of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Huge shout out to Mitch Scott from Starting Lineup, Uniform and Apparel. Great to have him on board and great to have him along. It's a hot one out there, folks, so stay cool. On Wednesday, we have Mark Rosick and Chris Dobinson of the Elora Rocks joining us here on the podcast. I am Andrew Rogers, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Saying a good night, and we will see you again on Wednesday. Stay cool, everybody. It's a hot one.